Everybody, welcome to episode 4 of IFS in Black. We have an amazing demo for you all today, led by Dominique Lamb and Kalima Jackson, and they are continuing with our theme of exploring anxieties through IFS this season. We are incredibly excited for the work that they're doing and for you all to be able to check it out. So please give it all your attention. Put it on while you're cooking in the kitchen, driving down the highway or whatever, on your way to work, and journey with them, as they are exploring Kalima's system today. And we hope that you all enjoy it, are benefiting from the work that's being done through this series, and are able to see, man, just how remarkable and intuitive this model is, and the potential it has for healing, for not just for yourself, not just for the folks in the demo, right, but for our communities, kind of more broadly. So sit back, relax, and yeah, man, come get some of this work. Enjoy.
Okay. Hey, Dominique, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I am good, thank you. How's everything?
Pretty good. It's a nice sunny day. I'm grateful.
It's
Yeah,
super hot here in Florida, so I'm glad to be indoors for the time being.
same. Same. So tell me, we were talking about anxiety
hmm
and um, a part that was coming up for you. Um,
hmm
you want to take a moment to just connect with that part?
Yeah, I like to close my
Okay.
eyes usually,
Okay.
just get a little kind of centered in this part. It's very much so there. Yeah,
Yeah. Where do you notice it?
it's in my chest.
Okay.
hmm
Okay.
And a little bit all over where I can feel a little almost jittery like.
Okay.
hmm
Okay. So I would just suggest like maybe taking some time just to get in touch with that part,
hmm
notice it in your chest and around your body as it might be
hmm
moving around.
hmm
Just kind of see if it's aware that you're there.
Yeah, this part has come up so much this week. It's like we're kind of one.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So
So,
since it's coming up, and
hmm
you're noticing it, I wonder if you could just ask that part, is there anything that it wants you to know?
hmm This part is like if you only knew what has been coming up for me during this scaling your business coaching program that I'm in,
Mm-hmm.
um, where we're learning, right, how to grow our businesses, how to market our business. And this part has been really anxious, a bit fearful of like what that all entails.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. So
Mhm,
maybe ask that part,
mhm,
what is it fearful of exactly? Like what are some of the things that scare that part?
mhm, mhm. It's not so much if it can't happen or will it happen, but what are we going to do when it does happen? Like, how are we going to be able to handle sort of like the responsibility and the weight that comes with growing a business, right?
Yeah,
Or kind of accomplishing that bigger vision
yeah.
that I have set for myself? And like, will we be able to sustain it,
Mm-hmm.
handle the demands of it?
Okay.
Um, and then, a few other things that just, come up around walking in purpose and vision and all that sort of thing. It's like, well, I just keep hearing like, will we be able to handle the weight of that?
Okay. So this part is afraid of
Mhm.
the question around whether you can handle the responsibility.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I even hear something, I hear this part kind of like, I hear another part that's familiar that's just like, girl, what are you talking about? Like,
Okay.
trying to tell that part, like,
Well,
right?
what's that other part? What is it saying?
Yeah, it's just like, what are you talking about? Like, we got this type of a thing, you know?
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
it sounds like a critical part, so I'm just trying to,
Okay. But so it sounds like maybe these two parts are a little bit polarized. Like one part is fearful and the other part is kind of like, we have nothing to be afraid of. What do you mean?
absolutely. I'm
Okay.
like, I heard, like, don't get up on this video telling these people you're scared, right? Of this success, because that's what, you know, I feel like it was hard to really even get in touch with, like, well, what was coming up. It wasn't like we hear so much about that fear of
Yeah.
failure, but it was like that's not it. It was the opposite. And so now I
Yeah.
have like this critical part that's like, don't be getting up here telling people
Yeah.
we got this, you know. So that's just interesting that I could hear it. It was loud.
Yeah. I would just suggest maybe asking that critical part if you can have a little space
Mm-hmm.
in this moment just so that you can work with this other part that we're getting to know, and then
Yeah,
um we can come back to that part and hear more of like what it wants to say.
yeah, I've got some space from it. That
Okay.
that was funny though.
Yeah, thank you. Can thank that part for giving us a
Yep.
little space.
I'm like, I hear you. I know we got
Right.
this, but right.
Right.
The anxious part is saying something different.
Yeah. And let's just check back in with that anxious part
Yeah.
because of, that part that's polarized. Like, how is that anxious part feeling towards that other part?
Hmm. Like they don't get it.
Okay.
Yeah, like they don't get that it's harder than what I'm hearing. It's like it's harder than what everybody thinks it is. And then there's all these other factors that are involved um in the work,
Okay.
like life factors and stuff. So this anxious part is just like you don't really get it
Yeah.
to the other part. Like, no, this is a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about what this part is saying?
Mhm.
It's more than what these other parts realize.
I'm like, yep.
You're in agreement.
I'm in total agreement. I'm like, yep, it's a lot. And then
Yeah.
I'm also in agreement with the other part that's like, girl, you got it. So I feel
Yeah.
like that's where there's this, like it feels like a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
Like I feel both sides of it, like, sure, you got it. And like, you know, you're just worried about the success of it. It's not like you're saying you're gonna fail. Like there's this whole kind of like dialogue. But then so I'm like, I get it though, from both sides.
Right. Okay. Maybe
Mhm,
just share that with this part.
mhm, mhm. I just feel like the judgment part is still like, okay, like whatever.
Okay. So that part is still lingering. So you
It's still
definitely have
lingering,
to
but I
come
feel
back.
like I have some space from it though. It's just I notice it there.
Right.
Hmm. And the anxious part is just like, yeah, it knows that like I'm right on board with it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that part wants you to know? Is there anything it needs from you?
The anxious part.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is the anxious part or if it's just me, but it feels like it needs like some sort of like plan of action, I guess.
Okay.
Like it feels like it wants these what if questions to kind of like get answered in a way, is how I would
Okay.
describe it.
Okay.
Like it just needs like more information of like, well, yeah, how are we going to do
Right.
dot 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 dot.
Right. So it's wanting to know what is your plan for this
Mm-hmm.
added responsibility and these things that
Yeah.
it's fearful of when it comes to success.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, how do you feel about, your plan of action? Do you have one in place? Does that sound like something you'd be willing to do?
Yeah, I feel like that's what I've been working on,
Okay.
but I feel like this part is still kind of strong because we haven't quote unquote figured it all out yet.
Okay.
So,
So it sounds like that part is looking for you to, it's activated because it's not completed yet. Okay.
oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think the plan of action being completed is something you could do? Like, is that something you could commit to doing since that's what this part is saying it needs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if when some distractions and things are not there, I feel like more time can be devoted to kind of like giving this part what it needs. But I
Okay.
feel like right now there's a little bit of a barrier because some
Okay.
life things have been kind of like, going on. So I just haven't been able to fully, you know, um, tap into
Yeah.
giving this part what it needs.
Okay. So maybe just share that with that part,
Mm-hmm.
like what you've been working on, kind of like the barriers that are keeping you from completing this,
Mm-hmm.
but that it's something you're planning to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that feels good.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So maybe you need a plan of action around your plan of action so you can commit to following up with this part on what it needs and like, reassuring it that you have that in mind, you're working on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This part's like, I hear you, but like, are we actually gonna do it?
Are you actually
A
gonna do it?
win or like a win.
Okay, so it needs it
Mhm.
needs a time frame.
And I'm like, when
And
these kids go back to school, like that's what was
okay,
coming up for me. Like,
okay,
go back to school.
okay. So I know you said they go back August 10th.
Mm-hmm.
So
So that's a part of the plan to be able
yeah.
to sit down with some quiet.
Mm-hmm.
This part's just like, parts are funny. This part's just like, mm-hmm.
That's not a good enough
I'm
answer.
sorry. I have to
Yeah.
laugh because I literally hear like, I can sense that the part is just like, mm-hmm, but almost like in a, I'm not taking you serious.
Mm. So it sounds like that part needs you to commit to a time
Mm-hmm.
frame of when for it to take you more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So can you commit to that? do you have any more specific time frame?
Mhm.
Or is that, is that okay for you to commit to?
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like there's like an eagerness to kind of get on it in and around that time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it definitely feels doable for me to be able to commit, but it feels like that part is just like, yeah, right,
Mm,
a little bit.
yeah, that part is insistent on a time frame. Yeah.
Or it feels like it's just not like it's just not sure if like that's gonna be the time frame. Almost as if it doesn't believe me.
Okay. So maybe ask a little bit more about that. Like,
Mhm.
what does it need from you to feel more settled
Mhm.
around this? Or why doesn't it believe you?
Well, it doesn't believe me because we don't get things done when we say we're gonna get things done. It's always later or at a different time.
Okay.
So I definitely feel like I know or I can understand, even though I feel like the part's not telling me, but I feel like I understand why it's doing that,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. So it just feels like, nothing happens like when we say it's going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
type of a thing. So I feel like that's where that's coming from, which is true.
Okay.
I'll say the 10th, it may not be until the 15th.
Mm-hmm. So you agree with how this part is feeling? Like you,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe just sit with that part a little while longer to see if there's anything else they want to say about that, anything else that they need from you that
Mhm.
you may be able to commit to. Maybe just let them know you agree.
The first thing I heard was realistic time frame, ma'am, type of a thing. Like maybe not the first week that they go off, but the second week.
Okay.
Because I feel like this is something that has like come up before, like setting like the realistic
Mm,
um
gotcha.
time frames
Okay.
so that we're not disappointed or we're not. So I heard like realistic, like it won't be on the 10th
Right.
of
Okay.
all type of a thing. So
Okay.
mhm,
So can you commit to the second week of school?
mhm, mhm, mhm. I can. I don't know how this part's receiving.
Yeah, let's just check in. See what it thinks about that if you commit to the second week.
These parts are funny. It's like I hear you.
Okay.
And that's all I'm really like sensing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm curious if this part can maybe give you a little grace. You
Mhm.
acknowledge, you agree with this part that in the
Mhm.
past there haven't been these realistic timeframes, but
Mhm.
maybe asking like, how could this part feel more comfortable giving you some grace for this time?
So immediately I felt charged up a little bit, even at the question.
Okay.
I'm just trying to. I don't know if this is another part or if it's the anxious part. So I'm not really sure, but I mean, I kind of think I'm sure, but it's almost like when you ask the question, it was like, we don't have time to like give grace. And I feel like it's another part because I have a time part, and that's what that part sounded like.
Okay. Okay.
I feel like another part just came in because it's like, yeah, but like we don't have time.
Yeah.
Like we have to like, kind of like get this stuff done.
Mm-hmm. So they're kind of working together. You're familiar with this part, with this
Totally.
timing part? Okay.
Mhm.
So it sounds like this part is kind of chiming in to back up that anxious part. No, don't let her off the hook with this time thing. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah,
First,
that's
let's just thank
mhm.
this part for showing up. We appreciate
Yeah.
this part. So maybe grace is not the route. Um, let's ask the timing part to give you a little space while you're still connecting with the anxious part. And I'm curious if you can ask the anxious part, um, does it trust you?
Mhm. No, not so much.
Okay. Can it share maybe why, what's happened that it doesn't?
Yeah, immediately it was like we don't do what we say we're gonna do when we say we're gonna do it.
Okay,
That's like the first thing that came up.
okay. So it sounds like,
Mhm.
if you're both up for it, maybe trust is where we need to
Yeah.
start.
Mhm.
How do you feel about the fact that this part doesn't trust you?
Ooh, these questions, boy, I tell you.
Hmm. Some other parts coming up?
No, it's interesting how these parts are literally responding to what you're asking. So it's just like, it's coming right up. Um, what did you ask this part again?
Well, I was asking you, how do you feel about the fact that that part doesn't trust you?
Yeah, a little pissed.
Okay, that's
And
fair.
understands it, but feeling like, gosh, like, okay,
Yeah.
kind of don't like it.
Yeah,
I don't like that it doesn't trust me.
okay. Maybe share that with that part, and if you are willing to work on the trust between the two of you, share that as well.
Hmm. Mhm. Yeah, I'm letting this part know that life be life, and
Hmm.
sometimes we can't get to things exactly when we say we're going to get to them, but that's okay.
Yeah,
And I don't like that it makes me feel like I have to kind of stick to a certain timeline all the time. Like it just feels like a lot of pressure.
Right. Okay. You shared that with the part.
Mm-hmm. That's
Okay.
kind of like what I was sharing. Yeah.
Did the part have anything to say in response, or you feel any sensations around like that part and hearing that?
Mm-mm. Other than
No.
I feel like the part it's not really, I mean, I don't know how can like, I feel like I'm saying it to the part, but I don't know if it's receiving it like
Okay.
that. I can't really tell,
Okay.
but I am communicating that.
Okay. Let's just take a moment then, just for you to go inside, just observe, like see if that part is still there, if they're still open to talking, if they need a break.
I literally heard like we cannot procrastinate is what
Mhm.
this part is saying back to me.
Okay,
Like
okay.
this doesn't want me. Like it feels, I guess it feels like procrastination to this part. Because that's literally
Mhm.
what I was able to hear. Like this anxious part's like, okay, so now it's heard me, but it's like, but I
Yeah,
don't want to procrastinate.
yeah.
I'm just like, okay,
Mhm.
I don't want to procrastinate either.
Right, right.
I feel that part kind of like, just like, okay, like you hear me too. Like, I'm like, yeah, we don't want to procrastinate,
Right.
but there's things that we have to take into consideration. So that's why stuff doesn't get done exactly when we say
Yeah.
it all the time.
So, Kalima, what do you think you need from this part?
Just to relax a little bit while we try to figure out routines and kind of like get some type of like schedule and routine down.
Okay,
Like I need this part to like just chill for a second.
okay. Can you maybe share that with the part? This is what I need to kind of address what it
Mhm.
wants and what's happening in life.
Mhm. I feel the part relaxing a little bit, especially after I told it that I feel the same way about the procrastination piece.
Yeah.
So it feels like it's relaxed a little bit.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I feel this tightness in my shoulders, and I don't quite know what that is, but
If you want to just sit with that for a second, just to check in to see what that might be.
Yeah, I still just feel like it's the pressure that this anxiety part will make me feel like.
Okay,
So yeah, it's okay.
okay. So how does that part feel about, you asking for the space and now that it's relaxing some, can it give you that space you need for a second?
I don't know. Right now it feels more relaxed, but I'm not really sure if we've entered into any type of agreement really,
Okay, okay,
per se.
yeah,
Because I can still notice the other parts too, although they're in the backdrop. They're
mm-hmm,
like they're right there too.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I don't feel overwhelmed.
Okay,
And it's sort of feeling a bit complete for
okay,
now.
okay. Yeah, maybe just checking back in,
Mhm.
like as you all are building trust, maybe just checking back in. If there's something like that you think you can commit to, um, as you're like trying to seek some kind of agreement between the two of you, maybe you can share that
Mhm.
with that part. And then I just wanted to check back in with the critical part and the timer and see how they're feeling.
Yeah, the time part's relaxed, but I literally just had to tell the critical part to step aside before I could even communicate with this anxious part.
Yeah,
I actually just took a moment to just ask that part to step aside.
okay.
Um, so the critical part's definitely there. And I feel like it's given me a little bit of space
Mm-hmm.
because I was letting the anxious part know that we already created the list on Sunday. I know it sounds funny, but like we already did the list.
Yeah, we're
So we
already
have this
getting
like plan
started.
of action.
Yeah,
So as I was doing that though, I could feel the critical, I literally just had to ask that critical part to just step aside for a moment
yeah.
while I communicated some things. Like I already got the list. Because these parts are funny. Like they are funny and not funny at the same time.
Right, they're serious.
Yes, very serious. Critical part came right on. And before you even asked me about it, I was already telling that part to step aside.
They're like, we got you. Everybody is on the job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's often what happens with my system too, that I've noticed in doing this, that there's other, there are these other parts. And the anxious part was like, yeah, that's right. We did do the list. And it's a good list too.
Good. It's good that you reminded that part that you did start already.
It's a good list, like step by step. It was
Mm-hmm.
like a SMART goal type of list,
Okay.
everything. So that part's like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And so it sounds like reminding that part that you've started the work kind of frees it up a little bit to give you more
Mhm,
space and feel a little more relaxed.
mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How's the critical part doing?
Oh, it's definitely like it stepped aside. So
Okay.
yeah.
I think let's just thank all the parts for showing up.
Yes, I think this feels complete
Yeah.
to just, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I feel good. I feel like super like I was here, but I wasn't here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I was, those parts were really just active.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I feel good. I have like I'm smiling because I still think these parts are so funny when they do kind of just show up and say the things that they say. And it's like, are you really saying that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
right? Are you really feeling that way? So I actually feel good.
Good.
Um, and it was a little bit more eye-opening than what I thought to know that this anxious part also doesn't trust me. I
Yeah.
feel one with it a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean you don't trust me? Like, we are
Right.
like one, right? And so I just think um there's something to be said about that. And I'm gonna kind of jot down like that maybe some more time needs to be spent with
Yeah.
that part
Yeah.
so that it can trust me a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I feel
And
like I
it sounds
trust.
like also just some reminders. It sounded like once you reminded that part too.
Mhm.
So it's also, I think maybe checking in, but then also maybe doing more of the reminding that you did, because
Yeah.
whatever made you do that, that seemed to help that part too.
Hmm. Like literally, we were up like late on Sunday night because we were trying to like, I was realizing that that part was there, and I was like, yeah, well, what is the plan, right? Like, what
Mhm.
we've got, a to-do list this long, and it's like, how are we going to break this up,
Right.
right? That we can actually get some things done. And so we spent all this time on Sunday. So I didn't even realize that too, that this part wasn't even really realizing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why this is so important. I'm glad like
Yeah.
I was just able to give that part some attention this week. And because it's really come up since I've been in this program.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my goodness, like what's happening here? Right. And I just chucked it up too. Cause I mean, fear is it's anxiety too.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. It's like it's a byproduct of that. So it's really kind of like was heightened this week. So I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
perfect. Like what's really going on here?
Right. I'm
Hmm.
glad you got to spend some time with that part too. I think
Yeah.
that that will go a long way. And if you can, just keep talking to that part, I think it'll be helpful.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's a good reminder to spend some time with it,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially when it shows up, when we can. I think that's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Dominique for helping me unpack some of this.
Of course. Of course. I was happy to meet some of your parts. I'm grateful that they let me
Mhm.
navigate with you and in your system, and
Yeah.
your critical part. The impression I have of your critical part is it's a sassy part, and I really love
It
that.
is very sassy.
I love that.
I kind of know that part really well too. Like I know most of
Mhm.
my parts pretty good, some not so much. But yeah,
Yeah.
that critical part, that time part, very familiar.
Yeah.
And really we're trying to become best friends. We didn't get all the way there yet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, very familiar with that part. So,
Yeah. She was like, I got you. I'm right here.
and literally has that whole tone.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sharing some other things. That's why this last piece, I had to literally get it to step aside because the stuff that part will say is just, so as you can see, I'm smiling with that part, not so much with all the,
Yeah.
depending on, you know, what they are and how they make me feel. But yeah, that critical part, boy, oh boy.
She
It's like
is
having it
sassy.
in check. Tries to
Yeah.
keep it in check, really.
Yeah. I like that
Mhm.
part. I like all your parts, but I thought, oh, she got a little sassiness. I like that. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Well,
Okay.
thank
Well, thank
you.
you.